so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people, there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really, Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me today. After talking about relationships last week, I got to thinking about what are the things that have helped me in times when I've felt defeated or lonely or I've had a bad breakup and had my heart crushed into a million pieces. And I thought of this book by Caroline Myss called Sacred Contracts. And this book helped me in so many ways in times like this in my life. And so I wanted to share this book with you. Now, this is definitely a book that I would recommend picking up for yourself because there is so much in this book and there's a lot of good story. And I'm not actually going to read through the whole thing. I just want to pick bits and pieces to relay the information that I think is so beneficial to helping us work through these times. And one of the main reasons why I love this book so much is because it is all about working with our archetypes. And I think that the archetypal mind and learning to understand that blueprint that we all work within is extremely helpful in our spiritual journey, in understanding who we are, and in harnessing our own power. And this book really helped me do that. And so I'm going to share a little bit of it with you today. And actually, I will probably be sharing more of it this week on Thursday. I think I'm going to separate it into 2 parts because there is really so much good stuff to go into, even though I'm going to be skipping around quite a bit. And it's a big book. And actually, the end of this book, it's like a workbook that you work through your own archetypes. So it's really a great book to get. But I'm going to start with a little bit of the introduction and go from there. We all want to know why we are here. What is our mission in life? Those people who know it are easy to spot. Their lives shine with meaning. Their perception of their life's purpose gives them strength to live through the rough times as well as to enjoy the good. Many people, however, are confused or completely in the dark about their reason for living. This lack of self-understanding and direction is a health problem itself in a sense, for it can lead to all sorts of emotional stress, including depression, anxiety, and fatigue. And when these stresses or negative emotions become entrenched, they can contribute to the development of an illness. It is not only your mind that wants to know your mission. This knowledge is vitally important to your body and spirit as well. A confused or directionless life has other consequences. Lack of knowledge of your mission can become a destructive force in your relationships. Without self-understanding, without aim, we can hurt others around us as well as ourselves. If we don't have a clear sense of how to see the bigger picture when things go wrong, we are not able to respond appropriately to events or people. For our own good, each of us needs to learn what our mission is, because the details of how we live our lives accumulate to create health or illness. As I discovered after conducting more than 8,000 medical intuitive readings in 17 years, our biography becomes our biology, which I wrote about in Anatomy of the Spirit, which, by the way, is another one of her books, which is just excellent. Another good one to pick up. In other words, the little troubles and major traumas that we go through take up residence and live in our bodies and affect or block our energy. So it stands to reason that the further we stray from our true mission in life, the more frustrated we will become and the more out of sync our energy will be. By coming to know your mission, you can live your life in a way that makes best use of your energy. When you are working well with your energy, you are also making the best expression of your personal power. I call this living in accordance with your sacred contract. Your life's mission or contract is your overall relationship to your personal power and your spiritual power. It is also how you work with your energy and whom you give it to. It is also how much you are willing to surrender to divine guidance. Although a contract is not the physical details of your life, you can use those details to figure out what your contract is. Your life is composed of many facets that shimmer and reflect both your physical and your internal energy. In attempting to grasp the whole of this reflection, you can discern and define your mission. Just as each fragment of a hologram contains the entire image, your mission is reflected, although maybe from a slightly different angle, within each of these many individual energy rays. The energy body that surrounds you, which is created by the chakras, contains all of the data of your biology and your biography. So it makes sense that this energy would manifest in patterns of archetypes that affect your life. So, to work with these big energies, these archetypal patterns, you have to step away from your life, step up and back from the detailed brushstrokes that make up your energy self-portrait to see the whole picture. Working with your archetypes involves seeing your life in symbols at the center of a panoramic vista. From this vantage point, you are able to take into account all parts of your life. You don't just focus on the major events or significant wounds. Archetypes are the architects of our lives. They are the energy companions through whom we can learn to understand ourselves. These psychological, emotional patterns, how we live and whom we love, can lead us to a profound understanding of our purpose. Every experience that we have contains purpose and meaning. Each event, each person in our lives embodies an energetic fragment of our own psyche and soul. Our individual spiritual task is to recognize and integrate all of them into our awareness so that the greater pattern of our mission can shine forth in its full dimensions. Carl Jung believed that archetypes live in a collective unconscious through which all souls are connected. The collective unconscious holds the energy of all who have participated in an archetype through the ages, the stories, myths, legends, and prototypes. Knowledge of archetypes, in turn, helps you understand why certain relationships have been necessary in your life and why you've had to take on specific duties that either surprised and delighted you or seemed burdensome and destructive. You learn again and again in working with archetypes that everything has its role, regardless of how painful or joyful it may be. By developing symbolic sight and archetypal language, you will grasp the whole of your life with a level of spiritual clarity that can heal the emotional and spiritual wounds you have accumulated and fill you with awe that your life is also of great importance to everyone you encounter. It becomes possible for you to trust that everything is meant to come your way will arrive in due time, that you will be with the right people at the right moment, and that divine guidance endlessly flows into your soul. It can't be otherwise. We manage our contracts, but the divine takes care of the sacred. So, what is a sacred contract? We're now into chapter 1, and I am skipping around quite a bit. In a sense, each archetype represents a face and function of the divine that manifests within us individually. Humanity has always given names to the many powers of heaven and tried to identify the qualities inherent within each. The multifaceted archetypal power of the feminine, for example, expresses itself within forms as diverse as the Virgin Mary and Mother Nature. The ancient Romans and Greeks saw universal feminine powers in the characteristics of Athena, the goddess of counsel, Venus, the goddess of love, and Sophia, goddess of wisdom. The Hindu culture of India gave the goddess names embodying different attributes of divine motherhood, such as Lakshmi for prosperity, Durga, fertility, Uma, unity, and Kali, destruction and rebirth. It was as if God had to separate into many different aspects in order for us to begin to approach that power. Yet, once it was named, we could invoke it and assimilate it and express it. Archetypal patterns awaken in us our own divine potential. They can liberate us from the limitations of our thoughts and feelings. They can help us shed light on the dark or little-known corners of our souls and amplify our own brilliance and strengths. Archetypes are a source of emotional, physical, and spiritual power and can help us free ourselves from fear, although sometimes, as we first get to know them, a few of them may initially unleash fears within us. Our spiritual challenge with any archetype or fear is to face it and recognize the opportunity it presents to learn its inherent lesson and develop an aspect of personal power. With an archetype that we perceive as difficult or even malevolent, our task is to acknowledge it, overcome whatever weakness it indicates, and work to make its divine potential our own. We tend to perceive ourselves and our universe as either good or bad, internal or external, me or you, right or wrong, symbolic or literal, joyful or sad. Our strengths and fears divide our spirit into polarities, into a duality. In Eastern times, which is why faith and doubt wage eternal battles in our psyches. By identifying and working with our archetypes, however, we can learn to consolidate the faces of our spirit and bring its power into our daily life to direct our thoughts and actions. These energy guides help us act mindfully and honorably, and they help us manage our power and live up to our divine potential. Our archetypal inheritance is prehistoric, primal. It comes from our own energy origins in the divine, which is also a source of our sacred contract, the guided plan for our life. We co-create our contract with divine guidance, and it includes many individual agreements or subcontracts to meet and work with certain people in certain places at certain times. For that reason, I will use the plural contracts interchangeably with agreements throughout this book. Both terms represent the earthly commitments, the tasks you have been assigned, and the lessons you agreed to learn in this incarnation in order to fulfill your divine potential. The experiences and relationships you are meant to have are with your parents, children, close friends, and any people with whom you share a passion for something. These people, as well as your adversaries, are in your life because you made an agreement with them prior to this lifetime to support each other's spiritual growth. Indeed, every relationship and experience is an opportunity for you to grow and transform your life. Some relationships may even offer multiple opportunities. In every one, you will have to choose how to exercise your own power. Acting through your intuition, your divine potential always alerts you to look alive when you are in the midst of a choice point, a significant contract moment, or a recognition of someone with whom you have an agreement. Because each contractual relationship in your life is carrying a fragment of your spirit, just as you carry a fragment of other spirits. When you feel strong energy responses to a person or place or in a situation, it is because you have come upon a part of your spirit that lives outside of your being. Like heroes in a mythic journey, we are meant to struggle to make the right choices. Our divine potential calls us to rise above the self's basic needs for survival in the physical world. We are called to grow beyond ourself. But we can't grow spiritually only by using our intellect. Divine order and divine logic are different from earthly logic and reason and cannot always be perceived by our minds. This is where your archetypes can help you to fulfill your divine potential and even to resolve the many issues of daily life, like power plays at the office or the healing of past injuries. You must enlist a higher plane of consciousness. You must get beyond reason to where you can see and understand the symbolic or greater meaning of the experiences. Your archetypes are your guides into this realm of symbolic perspective. Your quest for meaning is in itself a form of spiritual practice. Questions such as, why have I been born? And how do I find the voice of God within me? Are in fact spiritual invocations, prayers that are not answered in words but through experience. These questions activate your divine potential, energize your archetypes, and compel you to complete your agreements or contracts with other people. To be able to see symbolically, to act appropriately on your intuitions takes practice, and the purpose of this book is to help you develop these skills. I cannot think of a more valuable contribution that you can make to your spiritual health than learning to understand your sacred contract as it is written in your own archetypal language. I completely agree with you 100%, Caroline Myss. Like I said at the beginning, this was the one thing that really, really helped me out. By learning to identify your energy patterns, you'll be able to gain a much greater vision of the meaning and purpose of your many experiences and relationships. When you can symbolically read the content of your life, you can make dramatically better choices. When your life plans are suddenly interrupted, you can choose to view that event as a contract intervention rather than a crisis. What a symbolic vision gives you, above all, is choice. The choice to see events as arbitrary and antagonistic, or as blessings that are a part of a plan in which you have some say. Symbolic vision helps you understand the daily questions that arise for you, as well as the spiritual unfoldment of your life. Ultimately, we make choices every day, consciously and unconsciously, that implement the terms of our contract, keeping us on the path or getting us back on the path. We can also choose to enlist the aid of archetypes, spirit guides, and even the grace of God through prayer and meditation to attempt to fulfill our agreements more expeditiously. If you do not choose to believe in a literal pre-birth contract or in reincarnation, or even in the power of grace, you might want to review your life metaphorically as a journey you have agreed to take. In past life regression therapy, for instance, patients are invited under hypnosis to re-enter the events of previous existences. Yet, the leading proponents of this method have shown that the vivid stories people uncover about themselves during regression do not need to be viewed as literal events in order to be emotionally beneficial, but it can be seen symbolically. People who remember past life wounds, beliefs, revelations, and family histories invariably feel that they have gained from the insights these memories provide into their own unconscious and their life situation. You can also think of your sacred contract as your own unique contribution to life around you that arises from your particular set of circumstances, relationships, and family. Whatever interpretation you choose, the extent to which you can decode your contract will depend on your willingness to accept that everything we do is for a purpose far greater than we will ever know, that every deed you do affects your life and others for good or ill. As Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, we inter-are. To believe is an invisible order, a divine or implicate order, as quantum physics calls it, or the order beneath the disorder that chaos theory describes, is a healthier, more interesting choice than seeing no meaning in life whatsoever. Discovering and working with your archetypes and other elements of your contract will change your view of your own destiny. You will bring new meaning to your life and move from seeing it as random and haphazard to accepting that it is carefully planned and directed, with you as an active participant. Spiritual transformation results when you move from seeing things strictly in physical, material terms to seeing that there are reasons why things happen as they do, that there is a greater plan behind them. Your sacred contract allows you countless chances to grow and change, dependent only on your willingness to pick up the subtle clues and cues that appear along the way. Dreams, intuitions, apparent coincidences, and chance encounters are just a few of the cues that will lead you on the path to genuine transformation. From a symbolic point of view, as well as from the traditional position of much of Eastern religious thought, no one is in your life by accident. Having said that, however, it is apparent that some people weigh in more dramatically than others. The intimate relationships of your life, such as your family, friends, mates, lovers, close working partners, and even your adversaries, are all part of your agreements to learn certain lessons on earth. But because your contract includes the whole of your life, some other relationships that appear to either be brief or casual cannot be written off as insignificant. Conversely, you've probably had the experience of trying to make a relationship happen with another person. But try as you might, the bond never does come to be. There are people you are meant to be with, and there are people who, no matter what you do, will not be a part of your life. Similarly, with some people, maybe trying to bang down the door of your life, but regardless of what they do to please you or to get your attention, you are not open to embracing them. None of us belongs in everyone's life. One clue I can offer in helping you determine whether someone belongs in your life is to become sensitive to what I call the animation factor. By my definition, animation refers to a kind of electricity that occurs between two people when the energy of life kicks in, as it does for lovers who absolutely adore each other. The absence of electricity between people is as obvious as its presence. Without electricity, nothing will bridge the gap between you and forge a connection. You may be able to establish a temporary bond, but unless that flow between you and another person is natural, the bond you are trying to establish will be unsteady and full of static. Animating connections can also include relationships with people for whom you have an immediate dislike or with whom you fall into an instant pattern of power plays. In those cases, you can be sure that you also have something to learn from them, although it may be more challenging than mutual attraction. Carlos Castaneda said that the people from whom we often learn most in life are the petty tyrants, the ones who push our buttons and make us see in them the very qualities we most dislike about ourselves. Gurdjieff often played that role with his own disciples, having them spend the entire day digging an enormous hole in the ground, then telling them to fill it in. In terms of your contract, the petty tyrants in your life are as helpful and significant as your most beloved notable friends. You have agreements to work with, both because they each have something to teach you about yourself that you cannot learn anywhere else. So this whole topic came up because of relationships, and she just brought up such an important tool. I'm calling it a tool because once we can recognize it and use it, it is so beneficial to us. Recognizing the animation factor. Like, how does this feel? We talk about how it feels, but this electricity, she really explained that well. And we all know what that feels like. That it's just this natural thing that occurs when two people adore one another. And oftentimes we can be in a relationship where it's not quite this flow that goes back. That electricity does not flow so well. It's staticky. It's like one side is stronger than the other, right? It never works out that way. And so if we can really pay attention to this animation factor in all of our relationships, it does a lot. It tells us, A, is this good for me? Is this not good for me? And it also teaches us about the things that we love and the things that trigger us, which also teaches us about ourselves and all the lessons that we're here to learn and our archetypes. So we're going to get more into archetypes on Thursday. But I thought that that was just a great introduction into this book, into our sacred contracts, and how important it is for us to work with them and really be able to give our lives this good look symbolically, and to be able to see the big picture just like our higher self sees it, just how Source sees it. And it really helps things to become a lot more clear, and we can become more accepting of things in this way as well. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to leave you with a song for today. This is Ancestral Elephants, Sleepy Awakening. Until next time, everyone, love you all.
And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat-style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talk with Brandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.